Wolfe City. This is the Wolfe City Mirror Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick C. Harrison III. This is also the host, my co-host, ANT Cruz. This is the first ever, the inaugural episode of the Wolfe City Mirror Podcast, the podcast for Wolfe City, by Wolfe City, and about Wolfe City and beyond. I am Patrick C. Harrison III. I'm an author, an editor, a publisher. I also work over at the college, Texas A&M University of Commerce, doing various things. We're going to be discussing whatever goes on in Wolfe City, whatever goes on in the news. We're going to be talking about the sports in Wolfe City and beyond. Whatever sounds like a good topic for our community, that's what we're going to talk about. And we hope y'all find it interesting. We hope y'all follow us and continue to watch. And we're glad you're watching now. ANT Cruz, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, how you all doing? Well, I think y'all know me a little bit. If some of you don't, I'm Anthony Cruz. Everybody that knows me calls me Ant, short for Anthony. I'm a freelance artist. I've worked for the apparel industry for, I guess 35 years. I'm aging myself. But I've been designing graphic tees and apparel for many of the manufacturers throughout the United States that in turn sell the designs I do to Bass Pro Shops, Macy's, Target, Walmart, Tractor Supply, you name it, I'm in it. Just recently won as City Councilman for Wolfe City, and thank you to all who voted for me. You all rock, and I hope I do great by you, and that's what I plan to do, and we'll go from there.
When I'm lying in my bitterness, I don't wanna grow. The business is turning right, and I don't wanna grow. How do you move in a world with fog that's always changing things? Fall in love, get really cool. How the hell did I get so cool? No, I just want to grow up.
I'm not typically such an outgoing person, so I don't know a whole lot of y'all in the community like Ant does. I know Ant gets out there and he talks with y'all and meets y'all and everything like that. I'm not as outgoing, I don't think, as he is. But I want to get to know y'all. I want to get to be a part of the community. And this podcast, I think, is going to help us do that. I also want to help bring all of you the news. I think it's somewhat of a shame that we don't have a newspaper or a radio station or something where the residents of our little community can go to every day to find what's going on. That we can find how did the high school sports do, what happened at the city council meeting, what's going on with the local businesses and such as that. And I think part of this podcast is going to be us discussing those items. We haven't really detailed how often we're going to do this podcast, but I definitely want to do it as frequently as possible so we can get out whatever information we can about the community to the community, but also discuss, relevant information in the worldwide news and whatever else is going on, just to make it more entertaining and kind of apply to everyone. So I really appreciate y'all tuning in. I hope to meet everyone that's watching. I hope y'all enjoy the podcast. And I hope y'all get something out of these videos that we're doing.
Yep, and it's so true what you said, that this community was not hard to fall in love with. It's such a very giving and just a welcoming community. At least I know for me. I had a lot of friends that were from small towns in their youth and what have you, and they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Because they're used to seeing me as a city man, and always living out and about, and I've traveled a lot, and they're like, you're going to go into a small town, they're very close-knit, and in small towns they're not very welcoming of strangers and this and that.
It's the exact opposite.
And I got the exact opposite, total opposite here. I mean, everywhere I walked in, people were introducing themselves, even before I was posting, people waving, I'm riding my motorcycle up and down the street, and people were just waving at me. I wave to everybody now. Probably look like, some sort of nut, a lunatic, because I wave to everybody, So if you see me waving, I'm just being friendly.
I remember when we were sitting outside your house smoking cigars not too long ago, and I noticed every single car that drove by, you were waving at them. I was like, I guess I got to start waving at everybody that drives by too.
I noticed that. I was waving. You're just sitting there smoking a cigarette, and also go.
Yeah, but it is like that. Now, when you live in a small community, they're very friendly. They're gonna wave. If you're broken down on the side of the road, they're gonna stop and help.
Yeah.
And it's just something that comes along with living in a small town. People here are willing to help each other. And I was not here during the time that the blizzard hit a couple of years ago. I was overseas, but I know that a lot of the town were helping each other as far as food, as far as wood for a fire.
Talking about Snowmageddon?
Yeah.
You were overseas then?
I was overseas. I was in Africa.
Lucky.
Yeah. Well, not lucky, because my wife and child were here alone without me. And
yeah, that's true.
And actually, some friends down the road, Summer and Nick, brought wood over to help warm our house. And that's just, part of the community there that helped warm our house during that time. It says something about Wolfe City, is that, if you're in a situation, this community will come together and help you out.
Yeah, it definitely did. It definitely did. I had just moved here when Snowmageddon happened. I was my escrow had closed a week before February of that year, and the tenants, or the former residents, they still needed some time to move out. So I didn't actually start officially moving any of my stuff in until like January 29th or 30th, and I just started unpacking right away. And I don't like living out of boxes. And by February 10th, I was completely unpacked. Everything was on my walls. Everything was set up. The pod that I had all my stuff in was taken away. And then, what was it, Valentine's Day, Sunday of that year, we had that snow. And I remember I took all these great pictures and I loved it. I was like, oh my God, snow. And it's my first time experiencing full snow out here in North Texas since I moved here. I would come out here and visit family, and I'd been here in the snow, but not living here and dealing with it. And so that was my first time, and I took all these pictures, I posted it, and I ended up getting like 400, 500 something loves and likes on that post off the Wolfe City news page. And right away I knew, I was like, oh, I want to keep doing this. You all respond. I thought it was great. But just like all of you, the next day we're like, when's it going to stop snowing? Because I was enjoying all the pictures you all were posting.
I think North Texans, they love snow for about 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, actually it was one day.
Yeah, and after that it's like, okay, I've had enough. Can we go back to some hot weather? Some hot weather.
Yeah, well, yeah, because y'all remember what happened. We ended up losing water that very night because our water towers, lost electricity, and then they stopped pumping. So we ended up having nothing. So even turning on our faucets or anything like that to a dribble didn't help. I mean, my pipes burst. I still have the pipes exposed in the bathroom where they fixed that. And Jimmy Huckabee, his plumbing company, is the one that really helped me.
Topic I want to bring up at least some point, maybe not today, but another time, is that I know a lot of small towns like ours have 2 wells, whereas we only have 1.
Well, actually, they're working, and we're going to discuss that with Corey later on as city councilman.
We're about to have to talk to our guest. It's almost that time, so I think we might need to say goodbye for now, and then we'll sign back on when they're here.
True.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, it works for me. As long as you tune in, we'll keep talking.
Yeah, absolutely. So
y'all take care.
We'll be back in a minute with guests.
Right on.
Okay. All right, folks, welcome back to the inaugural episode of the Wolfe City Mayor podcast. We have our first guest tonight. Ant, why don't you introduce him?
Everybody, this is Corey McElwrath, and he's our city councilman in Wolfe City. He's entering his third term, and he's been city councilman for 4 years already.
Yep, 4 years. And thank y'all for letting me be a part of this thing.
We're glad to have you here. Corey, why don't you tell us, for the folks that don't know, what goes into the job of being a city councilman? What do you do?
Well, as far as being a city councilman, you are just a piece of the puzzle that helps keep the city going as far as tackling the budget, hiring city workers from the waterworks to the police departments. You got you make all the hard decisions that everybody knows needs to be made, but it's hard to say, hey, we need to go this way or we need to go that way. You're joined with you have the mayor. Right now we have Mayor Scott, and we have Councilman Dina Williams, Councilman Amy Pickering at this time. We have Councilman Jamie Moore, me, and a new Betty Malone, and you've actually got
soon to be ANT Cruz.
It's sworn in on the 13th.
Sworn in on 13th. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and so you're sworn to come in, so you're going to have a lot of headache as far as what a councilman does. You're a vote pretty much to just try to clear it up a little bit. You're one vote, and we're all trying to vote for what's best for Wolfe City. We do a lot of talking to attorneys. We do a lot of we're just the people on the table that's been elected to make the right decisions, and people trust us to do it, and you take kind of an honor to be in that position, but it's also it can be a headache because not everything that you push to approve for the city, not a lot of people like. Not a lot of people are aware of what happens when you make this this type of decision. Comes with a lot of heartache, and it takes time
And money, right?
and money.
A lot of the things that can be accomplished, you guys of course tackle, but there's a lot of things you guys want to accomplish, but the money's not there.
Yes.
The funding's not there, so that's a big tackle there, right?
Oh yeah, it's a very big tackle. There's always concerns of, hey, we need better this, we need better that, and we all hear the concerns, and we look at it as we look at our budget, because you have a budget set for a year, so you budget to what you can do in a year to stay green. Some of these things have to be kicked back to a different time. We're wanting to get everything looked at and everything updated, because you have to update. We can't stay in the 1900s forever. We got to update, and slowly but surely we're building. Definitely I'm proud of the council. When I got on the council, they were doing really good work. They started really hammering our debt that we owed to the state, and they were getting that knocked down to where we were able to get grants again. They fought for grants, so they got grants. So when I got on, they were finishing up the grant work. We were getting streets repaired, water lines repaired. What's going on now? A lot of people are see all these big blue pipes down there by the schools.
Yes.
And that's we're finally replacing all our pipes. We're slowly, surely we're staying in the fight. Wolfe City is the strongest little town I've ever seen, and
along the lines of that, the road work and the water.
Yeah.
I know those are probably the two main issues that a lot of the residents here have issues with. Is the roads are just not
the roads
good.
are terrible.
Is there any kind of, and this goes with the water too, is there any kind of timeline on when this kind of stuff's going to be completed?
With that type of work, when you're working with like with the pipes that are getting thrown into the ground, sewer and water, you got to look at it that these guys work when it's sunny. If the weather's good, they're out there working. So it's hard to put a timeline on when they can be done. Mm-hmm. The guesstimated time was 9 months. We're looking at it now. We've had weeks of rain. We've had weeks of freezing weather. So that knocks us back. So if it rains 3 or 4 days, you're getting knocked back 3 or 4 days. But it was guesstimated at 9 months. We're actually coming to an end. Mm-hmm. And as far as the roads, you have some knuckleheads that will say, well, the roads has always been messed up, and they have we've always had, you know, bad roads here and there. What all these guys are pulling up to put these pipes down, they have another team coming in behind them, and their main goal is to make it like it was, if not better.
All right.
So all these streets that are being tore up, right now we're battling with some issues in the streets of, you know, they cut a channel through some roads. People are hitting them in the car because they're not being, you know, coned out right. So we have little issues going on here and there.
Are they
But
planning on asphalting at some point, just
They're-
the whole
yes,
way?
in the works, we're planning on. When we started this grant stuff, there was roads that we're planning on just repaving completely. If it can be fixed without having to pull the whole street up, we're gonna fix it. It just depends. We had a list of streets that we were looking at what we could be done, like what could be done, what needed to be done, the price range of what this is gonna cost, or if it's covered here or there. So it's
I'll
in the
say
works.
we should start with Greenville Street.
Yes, Greenville Street, right?
You
Yes.
know, please,
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
I use the street. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
But no, to kind of, it's hard to tell you exactly what a council member's job is because I could take all day to tell you. I'm just going to tell you how I've done it for the past 4 years. I go in there and we do our meeting. We talk about issues that are brought up. You vote honestly by heart. You've got to vote by heart. Besides being inside the meeting, you got to be understanding. You got to listen. You don't, and I cannot press this enough. You cannot go out there. I'm a council member. I know more than you. This
Oh,
is what we're
absolutely.
going to do. This is what we're going to do. You've got
Y'all
to be.
answer to the citizens.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We
Yes.
work. Y'all elected us to make sure we take care of y'all. We work for y'all, and a lot of this and less of this is where it's at. We've got to hear concerns and not just brush it off. We have to actually listen to the concerns and say, okay, well, we've been doing this for months and months and months, and it doesn't seem like it's working on this street.
Mhm.
I would like to go to that person, you know, that has this concern and said, okay, let's sit down just for a minute and tell me what is your ideas, because you could honestly have a better idea than what we're coming up with.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, I'm
Right.
telling you,
If-
you're on borrowed time on the council.
If people do have ideas, they're obviously welcome to come to city council meetings and
Everybody is
Express.
welcome. Yes,
Yeah.
and those that can't make it, we're
Well, we're looking to bring more information to the
yeah
town. I
that,
mean,
that you
it's a
can.
big reason why
yes.
Patrick and I created this
Yes.
podcast too.
Yeah.
Just
Yes,
so that we
but-
could give more information to everybody out there. Definitely want to look to even televise or you know via Facebook Live the actual city council meetings. So that's all in the works. But
And I take it as, you know, when I vote, I'm voting from my heart. I'm voting. It affects you. It also affects me. So whatever we're voting up there, however it affects your house, I put that first thing in my head. How's it going to affect my neighbor?
yeah,
How is doing this project? Is it gonna? You're raising taxes. Is it? You know, how can we raise taxes? Because right now, you know, taxes is just a nastiest word that I ever think.
My
You know,
goodness.
and I'm telling you right now, I've heard a lot of bad words, but taxes is the worst of the worst. So we fight in the how to raise taxes. You know, pennies to the dollar, so it doesn't bankrupt you, my
Yeah.
neighbor. It doesn't bankrupt you, my neighbor.
exactly.
You know, so if you go in with that honest understanding, that honest heart, and go in there and say, I'm here to make it easy for you,
Yeah.
easy for you, easy for me. How can we progress in life without hurting our town?
Well, I think nobody wants their taxes raised. Nobody wants to pay more taxes.
No.
But I think it kind of softens the blow if they know that tax money is being spent smartly.
Yes,
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
and not spent on some BS or something that the residents don't want.
Yeah.
I think everybody would be on board with saying, okay, this tax money is going towards fixing the roads, going
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
fixing the water. So I don't know how other people's houses are, but a lot of times my water here, it has that awful
That sewer
egg
smell
It's
that-
like,
And see,
why does that happen?
with me
You know,
being
it's like-
just up the road, I've never had that so far. And,
Really?
You know, I haven't had it so far. But I hear that often. But I was hearing that when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
So there's a problem somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You
mine
know,
has a
and
big
we
sulfur
should.
smell.
We're in 2022. You know,
Yeah.
it's it's time.
No,
we do
obvious.
need some changes.
Well, and you know, I think I've discussed this with you before. I have a friend that he drills wells for a living. He puts in wells for cities and people's private property. And his company actually worked on our well when we were having that issue
Okay.
several months ago. And he was shocked to find out that we don't have a second well.
Yeah.
So is something in the works to have a second well, or is there a reason we don't?
No,
or?
yeah, we have a second well. You know, our first main, you know, was on near Bailey on Highway 11. We recently, through our grant work, we have a new well being put in over by the two lakes, and it was. I mean, it's with the last time I checked in on it. Last time we had an update on it, it was they were pumping. They were cleaning out the lines. They were pumping water out, just cleaning all the new lines that were put in there, and that it was up and running. That we're at the finish line. We're good to go. So if something happens on Highway 11, we have this to back us up.
Yeah, we had discussed before, you had mentioned that it took a grant to get the work that we're doing right now into the
Yes.
city with the water and the
Yes.
piping and all of that. And are we looking to other grants for, let's say, the ditches and the road work?
Anytime, yeah, that's the deal. You know, you never just hang a grant up on the shelf and just be like, well,
Right.
you know, if there's any time we can get a grant that can help out Wolfe City, I'm pretty sure. And you know, if everything looks right as far as the budgets,
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah, we'll definitely be looking for any type of help we can get to keep Wolfe City pushing to where Wolfe City needs to be.
Yeah.
What goes into acquiring a grant for things such as that?
Well, you got to the main thing before you could. There's a few things that has to happen before you can get a grant, but I'm telling you, I focus on the main thing. The number one thing that I really focus on is having a good grant writer, because you could start up. You know, me, I mean, you're an author. You wrote some books, so you're probably good at
Right.
building up. You could probably build up a good grant.
Finagling the words.
Me writing. They'd read 2-3 words of it, and they're like, "Nope, I'm good." And
A lawyer that does, or how's
we,
that?
we
generally
have
work?
how we do the grants is normally we in the meeting we'll a name will be brought up as far as a professional grant writer, and it costs us money to get this guy to write a grant.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it worked that way. So
Yes. Yeah.
So if you want any money from the state, you basically have to write up a proposal,
Yep.
tell them what the issue is,
Yep, and
they give
we're just in the
thumbs up
state
or
of-
thumbs down, basically.
In the state of Texas, we're one of thousands, so it's hard to get a grant in little old Wolfe City. That's whoever's writing that
Yeah.
grant. They're to get that grant. They're doing something good.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely something we'll be looking to work on together.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
especially this next 2 years, and
Yeah.
definitely we're all feeling the roads. You're all not just alone. We're all in it together.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's definitely something we all want to, see get taken care of.
And the pipe work we got going right now, I know it's a headache. They're starting here one day, they're starting here another day, they're starting over here the other day. They're making a big mess.
But one of the big headaches is that they're tearing up people's lawns and yards.
Yes.
And my
yes.
lawn got tore up. So
I know.
that's one of the biggest headaches that people are definitely addressing. And
Yes.
is that going to get taken care of?
We got a guy. Yeah, like I said, when these guys get these pipes through, we have another guy. We have another crew coming. So when all these pipes are being, laid down, we get this crew out of the way, we're going to have another crew coming in, and even in the yards where and here's another point after when I get done with saying this, they're going to come back, they're going to fix the roads, they're going to fix the ditches, whatever piles of dirt that was thrown into ditches, they're going to come back and clear all that back out. And this is something that I need the people to hear too, when that crew comes in and they're not cleaning up what they tore up, call the city hall here in Wolfe City and put in a work order. You're allowed to put in a work order, and the city can call that crew, and they'll come back and hit your spot. If they miss your spot, it's being paid for. They got to come back and fix your stuff.
So here's a good question that affects me actually. So my yard, it wasn't it was just a strip of grass, right? But my strip of grass was flat, it was smooth, and it was one grass. It wasn't like crabgrass and all this different kinds of grass. So are they going to smooth that out? Because right now it is a clumpy thing of dirt with weeds and grass.
Now, can I be honest and tell you they're going to plant every little piece of grass back? Probably not.
Not every
but
piece
they'll
of,
make that smooth.
Exactly.
They'll make it smooth.
Like, is it going to go back to being one, instead of weeds and all this?
Yes, no, they'll knock all that stuff back. And I know it's a headache as a property owner myself. It's a headache, but
have they affected your?
To be honest, we had they come close.
They've come close.
They're coming close. I think they're going to hit me pretty soon.
So you'll be going through what we're going through.
Oh yeah. So and I would be throwing a fit too, because I take pride in my yard, and I like my grass and stuff like that. So no, it's just this crew that's coming in. I'm hoping for the best for these guys, as far as they hit every little thing that was disturbed or messed up, because like I was saying a while ago, as a property owner, we take pride in our stuff, and it's just, I don't think I would be very happy if they come through there and made just wrecked my whole yard and then said, hey, well, tough nilly, see you later. But
something I like that's being done on Santa Fe is the sidewalks being put in. Is that going to happen on any other streets, or is that like a Santa Fe thing?
That's a Santa Fe thing.
It's a TxDOT thing too.
It's a TxDOT, yes sir.
Oh, okay, so that's not.
No, it's a TxDOT thing.
That's not coming
now,
from our dollars.
It could be something in the future. Some bright idea that might come down the chain. Here in the future, we could do further. Do that on other streets. As far as now, TxDOT wouldn't be any part of it, but we could. I don't see why we couldn't. It's a good idea to. It's a good idea to think about as far as other streets. I liked about Santa Fe. Don't mean to interrupt, but what I liked about Santa Fe is driving down there, and they had sections where they put flower beds.
Yeah,
I really thought that was really neat.
I haven't even seen that.
Yeah, but they opened it up so you can do that. And,
cool.
And they did that even in front of the old Burger Grill. Wolfe City Burger Grill.
Yeah, Wolfe City Grill.
They kind of shaped it, and
wow.
they gave an opening space to where you don't have to walk on mud and dirt and grass if you're walking to the Dollar General. It goes right up to the parking lot.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of good, but what I find disappointing is that they didn't finish it all the way down to, let's say, 11, or at least the rail trail, because people walk that. And I live right there, so I see people walking on the street because there's nothing really level or comfortable to walk on the sidewalks there, and so they're walking on the street, and that's where big trucks, cars are passing by.
As someone that has, and I know you have a kid too. I think they're same age, same grade. That's Santa Fe is like the busiest road, along with Crockett, and it's great having that sidewalk. Because my daughter rides her bike around, and it's great having that sidewalk instead of having to ride down Santa Fe.
Yes,
and it's a wide sidewalk.
Yeah,
it's not a thin one. They gave it a lot of space.
Yeah, think about trick or treating. For a while.
Yeah.
You were walking down. You didn't have a sidewalk to walk down.
You're on the street
because your kids would fall. I mean, if the sidewalk would go here, it'd go here, it'd go this way, that way. So we were walking on the street, and then you'd have all this traffic. So it was a nightmare for Halloween.
But when I first moved here, and say I like to walk, so I walk up and down, and I use the sidewalks like crazy now because I love it. But when I first moved here, that sidewalk was like an adventure. It was broken sidewalk to nothing, and some places
it's like you're walking up Mount Amherst.
Yeah. And so now they leveled it all out. Again, going back, it's like I'm twisting the nail, but had they just finished that sidewalk, like let's say cleared out those trees along the side of the Alliance Bank, and then even paved over like, they don't even have to put the lawn back in front of my place. Just put a sidewalk there.
Yeah.
I'd be happy. Just because then people can walk along that instead they're walking across my property, which is really not because it's actually city. You know, I think my property ends at the doorway. You know?
Pretty much.
You know, at the
You're
steps.
pretty close to the street.
Like I'm
so,
right there, yeah.
Yeah, I was
so
about to say.
if they just paved that, and then you wouldn't see old ladies and people, you know, and you know, I say old ladies and older guys. That's who I see walking on the street.
I know
You know?
one particular lady. She is one good friend of mine, and that's Miss Maggie. I call her Miss Maggie. Maggie Daniel. She walks from her house every day to go check her mail. I love her to death. I look at her as family. She's an awesome person. If you ever get a chance to talk to her, you know, do it. But Miss Maggie, she walks that deal, and I'm not saying just for her, but I see her walking all the time. I pass her and I try to wave at her and stuff, and she's booking it. You know, that's her daily exercise, and she's been doing that for years.
It lives right over here. Is that what you're talking about?
No. She lives past the car wash, going up, you know, further down towards Ladonia.
Oh, okay.
You know, still in Wolfe City limits.
Oh,
But
wow. She's walking a long ways.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and
I've seen her. She's always constantly walking straight.
I'll tell you something. She's fit as ever, and she's meaner than sin.
Yeah.
But you know, I love her to death, and I'd rather her be walking on a sidewalk where she's out of traffic because you know you get some of these knuckleheads, you know, out of towners coming across 11, you know, or like going through Santa Fe, they're just gunning it, you know, 80 to nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see her getting hit. I wouldn't want to see any kids getting hit.
Even continuing the sidewalk along the liquor store and Mike Doyle's garage and, you know, that warehouse that's down the way. I mean, just finish it, you know. And then also they stopped at the Dollar General, but if they kept that going all the way to the 11 too, that would have been great as well.
Yeah, as far as that, you know, as far as TxDOT doing all that, you know, as far as doing the deal, I don't know how far they were bidding to do it. But I know the only thing that they were told not to do, and I want to make that clear for people that might not hear or that might not heard. The only thing we told them not to do was not to block off City Hall.
Yeah.
And I want that to be clear. Nobody told them not to stop here, stop there. You know, City Hall didn't tell, nope, you're not going past here, this here. So as far as why they quit, I'm really not sure, because my understanding was it was going to go at least down Santa Fe all the way, you know, past your place.
Yeah.
Don't know, really. I'm not going to BS you on an answer. I don't know, but I am going to definitely check into that, because I heard somebody saying, well, they told them to stop right there, don't go any further, and the city has not.
No.
Nobody said anything about that.
So I was talking to the gentleman the other day that owns the building that used to be, I guess, a gas station across from City Hall, where he has his collectible cars and wagons.
That's a pretty neat little building.
It's a neat little building, right?
Yeah,
but he was telling me, he's like he appreciates all the work that they did. It looks great. He goes, except they curved off one of its driveways, that little space that's in between the main spot and the spot in the office.
Yep.
He used to be able to back his truck in there, and
now it's a curve.
and because it was a driveway, now it's a curve.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wish they didn't do that. I wish someone had talked to me about that. He goes, but I appreciate the rest.
Yeah. And that's something that we could probably come back and tell them, say, hey, you wasn't supposed to curve, you know, you wasn't supposed to do that.
Well, the other thing too is like when they started working on the sidewalks and even a little bit on the road at the end where the old booth theater was and across the street from that auction house and all that right there, they were also removing a lot of the red brick, and that brick is like historic, right? It's the brick that was laid out back 100 years ago thereabouts.
Oh yeah.
And so they were stacking it and piling it off to the side, and Pat Painter and Clay Hensley, they took it upon themselves, and I want to say thank you guys for doing that, because I think it was really awesome. They took it upon themselves to get that brick before because they weren't going to relay that brick because they paved it in that space. So it was stacks and stacks, a good amount of bricks. And so Clay Hensley and Pat Painter took it upon themselves to pick up that brick and store it so we can use it for something in the future, maybe another planter. But it would be the brick used that was on the road, now it's gonna be used and replaced and repurposed for something else. I mean, they're also, with the EDC, they bought that, a building next to, with space, next to Tag and the liquor store. So there's 2 spaces, and they bought that. And what they're looking to do is eventually they're gonna open that up. It's gonna become a downtown Wolfe City courtyard, and they're gonna put a stage in there. It's gonna be something that, you know, people can go to and just relax, have a good time.
That sounds great.
So I think they might even repurpose some of that brick in there, if not all of that brick, but either or, it's neat that that brick is still gonna stay with Wolfe City, and not in some contractor's, you know, backyard that they're like, hey, I came up, look at all this brick I got, you know? I'm glad that didn't happen, and again, thank you guys for doing that.
That's for sure.
If I can change the subject, are we done on that? Kind of on a current events type thing. Obviously, the tragedy in Uvalde just happened. A lot of kids died. A horrible, evil person took their lives. Does the city council have any kind of power as far as providing security to our school, or how does that?
Wouldn't it be with
Is
the
that a
school
state
district?
thing, or is
That would be considered a school district type of deal. As far as, I mean, the city. I feel like the city council, or not even the council, but just the city in general with the school. We've always had a good relationship with each other. That's the deal. Like it wasn't too long ago. I'll say a couple of years ago, that the school decided to have armed teachers on campus, and it was brought up to the city council and how we kind of felt about it. And I mean, I back it up every chance I get.
But that's something that we have, that town that shut up. I can't pronounce the name. Uvalde, I think.
Uvalde.
Yeah.
I definitely want to have the superintendent on so we can maybe discuss it a little more in depth. But
they had banned guns in that school. They took it upon themselves to not give the teachers the training, to allow that. Again, I do think armed security is something that we should have in every school.
Well, and
but
something that I like is at the beginning of the school day, we always have a couple of guys out there that are getting kids out of the car. They're seeing everybody that goes in.
Watch dogs.
The doors are locked. I mean, you can't go in there, without somebody letting you in.
Exactly, and that's how it should be.
But I don't know if there's multiple places of entry or not, and obviously that's something we can take up when we have the superintendent.
I will say no, because I was invited to go to one of the volleyball games and also another game. So I went there, and I got there late. And I parked in the back thinking, I'll just go into the back area, right? Nope, locked. Literally walked around the entire school, and the only door that was open and access to get in was the very front. And it was only slightly open, so it still looked closed up. You didn't know it was open. So they definitely do have their security.
They have the group of dads. I was a part of that group until my work schedule, just hauled me away. But no, when I was a part of that group, as far as getting the kids out in the morning, and Pat Painter, I remember even the mayor's husband, James, he does it. They are very, I love about from the elementary school to the middle school to even the high school. I went out there, they would send you out there after you get all the kids into the school. They'd ask you, you can either help a teacher with, a kid, or see if somebody else needs some help, or you can walk around the perimeter and make sure all the doors are locked. And before I even
that may seem mundane, but that's such an important thing.
It's totally not mundane.
And I'm telling you right now,
it's very key.
I would help a teacher out here. I'd help a teacher out there, and if I in between of helping these teachers out, when I was doing it, I was outside making sure every door was locked. And it was a good little exercise for me. But I could. You can't get in unless you have this little badge to badge in. And even with that badge,
I love hearing that. Well, these kind of events are just terrifying. To parents.
Well, I could add another thing. So I've been in contact with the art teacher, or she handles all the arts functions that go on with the high school and also with the middle school, elementary. And she and I were discussing the art walk, and she wanted me to come by, during school hours.
First Friday of every month. The art
Right,
walk
first
by
Friday,
way.
exactly. She wanted me to come by during school hours and meet with them and talk with her and what have you. And the day that I was going to head over there, she called me and says, well, can you come after hours? Because, there was you have to like go through some sort of red tape to have somebody outside of the school that's not part of the school. If it's not a school, public function, the only people allowed in that school are teachers and students and anybody that has been pre-approved, So, school ended up sooner than we could have gotten that together. So I'll approach, at the beginning of the year. But for now, I thought that was good. She was like, well, I'm sorry if that puts you out of place, and I know we're fine. I'm like, absolutely not. I fully understand. So
Yeah.
It's something that I think it's also what they're also doing above and beyond what, people don't realize that they're doing. You know? But seeing that some people were making comments online, not here in Wolfe City, but in social media in general, everybody has their opinion and what have you. You got the side that says, more banning, and the side that's
that's something we can't control on local.
Yeah.
On a local level, we can control what happens at our schools.
No, but what they were trying to say is like, well, why are you going to have a teacher who's supposed to be in the school teaching their kids? Why are you going to have them also have to protect them? Like, they're not security, they're not this, like, but it's like, so it's the way the world is now,
Yeah.
It wasn't like this when you and I went to school,
Right.
or you, but it wasn't like that. This was not happening, but it's happening now.
Well, and it's not like it's being forced upon teachers to carry.
No,
it's not.
it's not.
It's an option.
It's an option.
But I think a lot of people aren't understanding either is that these teachers that do choose to carry are sent into another form of training. So it's not like they're just like, all right, just bring your gun tomorrow. No, they go through a certain amount of training, a certain amount of exercises. I think they have to know how to shoot.
They go through all that.
Yeah.
And it's just, gonna touch on it, kind of briefly, like with, schools that allow teachers to carry. A lot of it is, they don't, even the teachers don't know who's carrying. It's very quiet about who's carrying, and it switches from day to day.
Well, I tell you what, I think it's a great thing to have that sign right out front of the school
that says teachers carry.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's a deterrent right there.
But it should be, honestly, that sign should be everywhere, because I feel comfortable when I walk, my California network of friends and all that, they're always like, oh, yeah, you go in the store and people carrying guns, you got to feel very unsafe, and that's got to be scary. I'm like, no, I feel safer.
Yeah.
If I see somebody and I look at that person and he's got a gun, although most of these stores don't allow guns inside, right?
Yeah.
So, but if I have an idea, people that have the concealed carry or the concealed carry, fine. If they're concealing carrying and I have a good sense that somebody is in there with that, I feel safer, because I know that somebody is going to react. If something like that
I
happens.
feel, and like I said, my opinion might, ruffle some feathers, but I'm telling you right now, if they would put as much concern in mental illness
Exactly.
Yeah.
and what is going on nowadays, if they would put more concern in mental illness than into, well, let's ban this type, let's ban this type, let's ban this type, I think we'd get a lot further in what's going on, because I don't truly feel like doctors heal anymore. I think they prescribe you something that will take care of
Yeah, they
something
don't
for
heal. They
today.
prescribe. They hook you. It's like a new kind of a monopoly of drug dealers, right?
Yeah, I think it's starting to come back around the other way though, because with this, with the opioid epidemic, where it's kind of being discovered now that this hydrocodone and all these other opioids people are being prescribed and they're getting addicted and they're causing problems. I think a lot of people are seeing that these medications are not the answer to everything.
No.
Sometimes you need somebody to talk to.
And when you run through them drugs for years at a time, you got what a buddy of mine called the other day. I kind of like it, the Waylon Jennings life effect. You start getting, really. You might seem good on the outside, but on the inside you're fighting a lot of demons because you're battling stuff that, you're taking these chemicals that are not supposed to be taken care of. And so it's really twisting you up a little bit inside, and then next thing you know, here we got this tragic things happening.
Well, again, none of that was happening. It's now 2022. So the first thing that ever happened in that direction was that one with the trench coat mafia.
June bug in your hair.
Is he still in there?
No, I think he's gone now.
Get him, get him.
Get him! I heard it tasty. I heard they make a really good protein snack.
They might.
You know. But anyway, so y'all get to see that.
Oh yeah, he jumped.
Right, I did.
I was hoping it would fly in his mouth.
I
That would
was,
have been awesome.
I was like, as a rider, motorcycle rider, bugs are hitting my face all the time. So you're like, but at least I'm wearing glasses. I got a helmet on.
Yeah.
This thing went right into my head. I thought it was gonna hit my eyes. Glad it didn't hit my eyes. What was I gonna say?
I don't know what you're going to say.
I don't know. The yums are throwing me off.
But if we want to change to a lighter subject, or maybe a darker subject,
Well,
Ant and I here we're going to be starting a book
yeah.
that's going to contribute to helping out the Historical Society here in Wolfe City. We're going to be gathering stories and folklore from the community about ghosts, about UFOs, about Bigfoot type sightings, any kind of paranormal activity, folklore in the community. And Corey, I hear you have heard or possibly seen a few things around here.
I've lived here for a long time, and I've heard many stories. Like I was telling when we first got here, before we started the podcast, just shooting the shit. A lot about the house on Preston, the big blue house on Preston Street. A lot of people probably know that house right across from the church.
And that's your grandparents' house, right?
That's my grandparents' house. Yes, it's got many stories to be told by many people, even people that's moved far from here that owned the house before they did, and it's kind of weird how we all met up.
It sounds like straight out of The Conjuring, kind of.
Yes, that house
story.
has some creepy. And then besides I'll always call it the house on Preston Street, but you have to look at the.
There's a book title.
Yeah, the house on Preston Street. But
There
you
will
have
definitely be a chapter in this.
Right.
and then you have the Tiffy's house. Tiffy's mansion. You know what a lot of us kids called it.
Yeah.
That's a creepy little building in itself. Not because of the way it looks now, but even when it was occupied, there was just stories that come from that house.
Well, Danny Pate, who does the second Sundays cruising every month on downtown Main Street as well, he started not a podcast, but more of like a YouTube show of him and his classic car. He named it Lucille. So he I think it's called something Ghost Hunting with Lucille. And they recently did their first episode in the Tiffy house.
Oh,
and
really?
A new Wolfe City resident, Jen Spurline, she joined him on that. And so if you get a chance to watch that, give it a watch. And yeah, they went through the whole thing. He said it kind of ruffled some feathers of some of the people in town. But I'm like,
yeah.
you're not going to please everybody, but the ones you do please, that's your audience.
Yeah.
So that's who you want to please. But he filmed that. And I've heard stories that there's a room, like just a room with just a window, like there's no windows other than the top attic type window, and it's blocked off, and that from what I've heard stories on that, it sounds to me like one of those disappointments rooms, and they say that there's a girl haunting it and that she's maybe deformed.
This is on the one on Santa Fe?
The Tiffy house.
Oh,
and they
wow.
say that it's like haunted by a girl, and that they say that she's deformed or something, like she might have been born, with some sort of ailment, right? And maybe she was hidden away.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's a
I don't
creepy,
know.
that's
Yeah,
a creepy
she's
thought.
hidden
I
away.
like that.
Yeah.
I know. My uncle Sam, he would tell stories of going to that house to grab something. He was doing something there. I can't remember the whole story, but he said, Corey said, he's another one that doesn't believe very much in paranormal. It really has to slap him in his face for him to realize it. But he said nobody was actually really living in the house. I think they were moving some stuff out of the house. And he looked up to that top window that you're talking about, and he said, Corey, I'm telling you, I've seen somebody in that window.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've heard
I
that
love
quite a
hearing
bit.
that. You get goosebumps.
Yeah, I've heard that
hearing
quite a bit.
But my deal, one story that I was asked to tell, and I'm it does give me goosebumps. it just really wears me out. And I'm gonna be thinking about it later on tonight, trying to figure out, what really happened. As a lot of people knows me as besides Councilman or Corey, they know me by my nickname Hillbilly Bone. They know I do a nuisance removal. If you can trap it, I can catch it. So it's kind of one of those things. I trap from Point, Texas, all the way to Ladonia. Done some up north, close to Paris, Texas, all through Trenton. Beavers, bobcats, coyotes, pigs, whatever. If it's a nuisance, I'll get it. So we had some pig problems that at the Wolfe City Lake behind the second lake, and my boys would go to school early in the morning, so my wife would work, so I'd get up an hour or two early, and I'd say about 4:30 I'd get up, make a cup of coffee, and I'd get in the truck and I'd drive out to the second lake, and it would take you all the way to the back of the second lake, and that's a good 10-15 minute walk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're in the middle of nowhere. You have some houses that are a couple of miles away, but you're in complete dark. Like I said, like I told y'all before, it doesn't bother me. I've been, I duck hunt all the time by myself. I do a lot of these I do by myself. So I started like every other morning, grabbed a cup of coffee, grabbed my 22 rifle and flashlight, and started walking through the woods. And I remember it just rained. I had to park up closer to the highway, so I kind of slid down the hill, and was kind of cussing about busting my ass. Got up and started making my way, and I had about, I want to say 8 traps to check, and they were all spread out. I knew it was going to take me, if I took my time, it's going to take me at least 15 minutes to get to the back, another 15 minutes hauling back to the truck, and I'll have plenty of time to get the boys up and take them to school. On the way out there, like every other morning, didn't hear anything, weird. You'd hear a pig jump up, and it'd kind of make you jump a little bit, but, something you could laugh at. I got check traps, caught a couple of raccoons. The last trap I caught was a possum, and I try to leave all the possums alone as I can. So I kind of got her out of the trap, and she kind of took off. And I didn't reset the traps. I was going to come back when I got off of work. And so I started making my way back, carrying the 2 raccoons, and I was having a hard time because the thermos coffee I had hanging out of my back pocket. So I had everything going in my head, I remember just walking and walking through water, just kind of talking, thinking to yourself, and here's where it gets. I was still pretty far away from the truck, and it sounded like it was from the right. And I heard, it seemed like more of a whisper, but it seemed like it was like right next, it was like right on me. It said, "Hey." And I kept walking, and I was like, so I kind of stopped, and, your heart dropped, like you were caught doing something you wasn't supposed to. And I stopped, and I looked, and I shined the flashlight, and I was like, I kind of waited, and there's nobody out here, And so I kept walking, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I kind of picked up pace a little bit. And but this time it was a little bit closer to this side, and I heard a "hey," and I said, "Somebody's talking." And so, I flashed the flashlight over, and I said, "Hey." Nothing.
Wow.
And I swear to you, I was very uptight. I kind of was like back, and I was kind of keeping an eye on where I thought it was on the cedar tree. Didn't see anything, didn't hear anything move, and I was like, "Corey, you're better than this, come on." So, I kind of turned back around, started walking, and I swear I heard a hum or a whistle, like just somebody whistling a tune.
Oh, wait.
And I started picking it up closer and closer and closer, and then I heard like somebody talking, like having a conversation. It was mumbled, you could not hear it, but somebody was talking. And I was like, it's got to be my phone. Maybe I played a video on my phone, but I was not going to turn around, see who was out there. I kept hauling ass back to the truck, and I tell you, when I really lost I really got beside myself, is when I threw everything in the truck and kind of started the truck, and I looked, and my phone was sitting on the dash. Like on the
So it wasn't a phone.
No, somebody was out there, and it could it be a house? But who's up at 5:30?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you had to
4:30.
speculate,
I mean, could it have
What-
been
what do you
maybe
think?
hunters or
It was the
sound-
time. It was the time that hunting wasn't going on.
no?
so it would have to be either sound traveling somehow.
That's what I thought. Maybe
Or-
but how do you get it from like, hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Or
it's
it
kind of
would have
similar
to be
that.
somebody trailing you, or
Yeah.
it would have to be something
I did
that
not.
we don't truly understand.
I did not hear a boot print. I
Yeah.
did not hear a limb shake. Did not hear somebody like grass was hitting. You know, we're talking about they don't maintain this part out in the back, so grass stays this tall
Yeah.
all around.
Oh, gotcha.
And it was just right after
Nobody wants to be
duck
in that.
season. And the reason why I wait till after duck season because I have good friends that hunt that back lake, and they bring their dogs, and the last thing they want is a dog stepping in one of my foot traps.
Yeah.
You know, because it could mess up a dog, and I could get my hind end kicked in, and I'd get sued. You know,
Yeah.
so I always wait till duck season's over. Nobody's ever out there, so I always kind of. It took me all morning to get that out of my head. I was like, maybe somebody was just up having a really good day, and it was echo coming through the woods.
So you didn't swing around with your 22 and just start blasting.
No. But I'm telling you,
away from me.
yeah. But I'm telling you, when it started whistling and then doing that humming, because it was like a. I'm telling you
Like
right
humming
now.
a tune?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
man.
yeah, I
That's
was
creepy.
big. Hey, I was my knees were meeting my elbows at
Oh,
that
wow.
point.
Well, wasn't
I
it
was
all
getting out of
like cotton fields and stuff back in the day? Like, you know.
Back then, the field behind it, I know who leases or who's leasing it out now. It's always been cows as far as I remember. Now some of these older cats that live here, that duck hunt on that lake, they could probably tell you more about what fields were used back then. But I'm telling you, the further that I was at, I want to say from here to my house, that would have met the trail.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So, and you were going all the way back to 1563
Yeah.
from there. So it took me a little bit to get out of there. I went and that following afternoon, I went and reset my traps. And I've been trapping out there every year. Every year I
So that's the only
Yeah.
time you've.
only time.
You know, the
But
funny thing
I
was-
Bizarre.
I have a better flashlight,
Yeah.
and it's brighter, and it goes farther. So if I hear it again, I'll be prepared.
No,
You know, the
that's
funny
great.
thing
It only
was-
happened one time.
skeptics that like, yeah, I don't believe that, or hogwash, or
Yeah.
like my dad would say, horse feathers. you
Yeah,
know,
horse
but,
feathers.
But you know, I say, you know, everybody's a skeptic until they see it,
Yeah.
until they experience something.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's easy to be a skeptic, you know,
Mm.
and at the same time, it's ignorant, right? Because you're being a skeptic without really ever experiencing or knowing, or you're just closed-minded, right? But,
Well, I remember years ago, I was living in Greenville, and I'd been watching a movie, and I fell asleep on the couch. I lay down, fell asleep on the couch, and my son Gabriel, he's maybe 10 at the time, maybe 9 or 10, and I hear him. He goes, "Dad," and I like wake up, and I'm like, "Yeah." And I look around, and I'm in the dark living room, and he's not there, and I'm like, "Gabe?" I'm like, "Where is he at?" And I just heard him say, "Dad." I know I heard him say, "Dad." He just woke me up. And so I'm like, "Gabe, everything okay?" And I call him out. He doesn't say anything, so I go walking out of the living room. I go up, we're in a 2-story house. I go up the stairs and go into his room. He's fast asleep in his bed.
Huh.
But I swear, I heard somebody say, "Dad." I mean, maybe it was a dream, but I would have sworn on my life right then and there that I'd heard somebody say "Dad" right in my ear.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I told him about it the next morning. I was like, "You didn't like get up and say "Dad" in the middle of the night?" And he's like, "No." Like, I could have swore I heard you say
Hey,
it.
where we live right up the house up here, I was sleeping in the living room, and the girls were sleeping in their room. Amy was going at work, the boys were at school, and I got everybody out of the house, you know, and I was watching the news, and I guess I drifted off drinking coffee. I was out. And it could have been the coffee. It could have been me dreaming, like you said.
Yeah.
But what you gave me chills because it happened to me too.
Yeah.
I was dead asleep. I mean, I guess I was. I mean, I remember I was drooling,
yeah.
and I heard somebody go "Corey," like loud, and it made me so loud that I jumped. I was like, "Yeah, what?" You know, I said, "Hey, yeah," and there ain't nobody in the house.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I was like, is it my head? Was it my head? And I always thought, I was like, maybe it's my head, because you hear people like, well, I've heard, some people can hear, you're so tired, you might hear something. I don't know. I didn't think I was that tired.
Yeah,
So
that's
I don't
the way
know.
I felt, because I've never had a dream like that where it was like, it brought me out of sleep, and I thought something was happening like that.
Yeah.
Because
you woke up and you was ready to go.
Yeah, and the way he had said it, or the way it sounded in my head, or whatever, it sounded like there was something wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, Dad. I'm like, yeah, what's up? What do I need to do? What's going on? What's wrong?
Had some concern.
Yeah, and so, whew, yeah, that was a scary moment.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people have issues with ghost stories and all that too, and they're skeptical because it conflicts with their religious beliefs. And
Yeah, for sure.
What do you see? You seen something?
Oh no!
We're
I
experiencing
think
something
no.
now?
I was like,
Turn
we're talking.
the camera.
We're talking now. Yeah, there's a car coming down the road. I thought it was a UFO.
Yes, and that's the thing too. They're like, well, there's an explanation for everything. Yeah, but what if that explanation is the place is freaking haunted?
Yeah.
What if that's the explanation? You never know.
You never know. But yeah, I'm really eager to see that book.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the stories that we get out of the community, because last night was the art walk, and several people, and I was telling them about the idea, the book idea, and they were saying, "Oh man, if I got something to tell you,"
and that's awesome.
Man, yeah.
So we need to hear it from you. We need you to reach out to us and tell us your stories. And again, it could be, anything lore. So then after you just ghost stories, it could be you experienced something creepy. Maybe you thought there was there was I guess back in the 70s and the late 60s.
Webb Hill Wild.
The Webb Hill Wild. So,
Yeah.
so apparently a Bigfoot running out here in Wolfe City. So if your grandparents or even your parents when they were children can tell you any stories, and you have them, share them with us, because we want to put them in that book. Of course, it's going to be all donated stories, because we're going to put it in this book, and the book is going. All the proceeds from that book is going to go to the museum. We're going to raise money for that. We've got the location. It's 130 East Main Street, right next to the old Booth Theater, and we just need to raise money to get displays set up, shadow boxes, frames, what you would need to display stuff in the museum. I'd also like to do one more thing, and I think it would be something we'll all discuss in the board meeting, but I think putting in somewhat of a stage and figure out how we'd locate it in there, and also use that museum as a Wolfe City Theater playhouse, and have plays there. That with all the proceeds, all the proceeds going to the museum, giving the townsfolk, young and old, an opportunity to show their wares as an actor, and participate in whatever play we're putting out that season.
Or we could have readings, or
definitely we could have public readings on the stage, and like we could use that stage also to. I would like to reach out to many of the of the citizens, the townsfolk here, that have relatives that were in the past wars, and maybe donate that uniform of their grandfather, grandmother, whoever, maybe she was a nurse in World War II, or what have you, and we could put them on little mannequins on the stage, and when we're not doing a play, and they'd be on display there. And of course, anybody that donates anything to that museum, they will be named as the benefactor of that piece and article, and it will just keep the history alive. And I know that there's a rich, even though I've only lived here 14 months now, I know that I'm really happy to really just get involved in the history of what Wolfe City was about. I love reading all of John Dubb's stories, and he's an awesome man. We definitely got to have him as a guest one day.
That
too.
would be wonderful.
But he, his stories, he brings.
He knows so much about the community. It's ridiculous,
and he reaches out to everybody too.
Yeah, and we need to tell that story. Whenever God forbid he passes, we don't want the history of Wolfe City to pass with him.
Exactly.
We need to have that all documented.
And that's where we have to have the museum. We need to keep that alive. And that museum, I think it's a great location, right on Main Street. So it's not like you got to go out of your way anywhere. And again, anything that's donated will definitely be displayed properly with, again, your name as a benefactor. So we'd appreciate all of that. And, you know, when we get the book going, hopefully by the fall, you know, we'll have at least, and it'll be sold on what, Amazon?
We'll sell it on Amazon. We'll also have lots of printed copies that we can sell with the Wolfe City Art Walk.
Yeah.
So yeah, and maybe we can have it available at like the grocery store and other businesses where we have a little rack where they can just buy it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I want to ask you one more thing I'd like you to share. That when we spoke about the, you know, before, you had mentioned about your grandfather and you out by the lake, I think you said?
Yes.
And you happened to see something quite unusual?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it was, we were out fishing on the first lake. It was me, him, and my little cousin, I believe. And we were just fishing like normal. Me and my cousin, we were fighting with each other, whatever. But I remember him turning around. What really stuck with us about that day was him turning around and saying, he said, you know, and it was, his eyesight's bad now, but it was before his eyes were getting bad. He kind of turned around and he kept looking, and I kept looking back and looking at him. I said, what is going on? You know, I kept looking and I seen, you know, what at first what I thought was a cow, and it was out in the field, and you know, I was like, it's just a cow, I ain't worried about it. And, you know, and kind of went back to fishing, and he kept looking. He was like, I'll be damned. Or he said something like that, and he turned around and he said, do you see that? And sure enough, what I'd seen was, it looked like a cow, but it was standing on its back legs.
Just standing straight up.
Standing straight up.
Yeah.
That is
And
bizarre.
he said, Corey, am I seeing a bear? And I was like, I don't know. I said, I don't know. I said, when do you have, you know, light colored bears in Wolfe City?
Right.
It was the weirdest, but it was.
When do you have bears in Wolfe City?
Yeah. I mean, you know, their black bears run. They run close to here. You know, you got them in Oklahoma and stuff. You know, so you might hear of somebody around here having a sighting of bear, but not a longish brown bear.
Now, here's a city boy
That's
in me,
bizarre.
ignorant question, but do cows stand up? Like, is that like a thing?
Cows don't stand.
I
So they
don't
just
think
stand
their
up.
back legs have that capability.
No, and it sounds so silly, and you know, people are gonna be like, whatever. I'm telling you, go talk to Tommy Sherrill. He'll tell you what he's seen, and he was more upset about it than any of us because we were kids. But he was like, that can't be a bear,
Yeah.
and he's willing to say.
I want to hear him, you know, relate that
Yeah.
story.
Oh,
Yeah,
And-
we'll,
and
we'll
I
have
would-
to get that one.
I want to hear
But
his description.
But you know, looking at it, I mean, I could, you know, it didn't have a snout like, you know, cows have long snouts. You know, it didn't have
It didn't have a snout.
It didn't have really a long snout. It had a snout, but it wasn't a long snout.
Huh.
So
See,
to
that's
tell
interesting.
me, I don't understand. Yeah, you tell me what it was. 'Cause
Well, there's stories.
he kept quiet about it for a while because he was like, I'm not going to be the crazy of Wolfe City.
Well, there's stories like, especially out here, like in inland, middle America, heartland of America,
Yep.
where there was definitely tribes of Indians and all that lore. But there's stories of like they truly believe in like things like skinwalkers, dogmen, and even of course Sasquatch. you know, Bigfoot.
On my mother's side, her actual father, my grandpa, we call him Che. We used to call him Papa Che, but in Navajo, it's Che is grandfather. He's full-blooded Navajo, and all him and his family up there in Arizona, in the Four Corners, they truly believe in skinwalkers. And I remember being a kid, as far as living with him or staying, you know, weeks with him, or out of it, you know, maybe a month with him through the summer. You couldn't step over my sisters. I couldn't get up in the middle of the night and step over my sisters. You know, I remember one morning, I guess it had been real early, he was drinking coffee and I stepped over him and he got really upset and he said, shuffle your feet. He said, because you just casted bad spirits upon your sister.
Really?
Oh,
If you step over a person?
Yeah, while they're sleeping, yeah.
Really?
You're
Oh, I
casting.
never heard
I
that.
never knew
And
that.
then he said, we were out in the, you know, just walking in the yard and you can tell where a snake had slithered through the sand. And he would, you walk past it, but, you know, he'd tell you, he'd jerk you back and he said, shuffle your feet before you walk over. He said, because you're casting an evil spirit over you. He said, yeah, you know, he was real. He was real. One of them had a pot full of sand by the front door, and he would sprinkle it when he'd wake up in the morning, and he'd say a Navajo prayer for the day.
I really like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that culture.
but he truly believed in skinwalkers. They called it, Navajo dog soldiers, or the Navajo wolf. That's a lot of those things he did, and he said we don't talk about them due to, you talk about them and you're asking them to come see.
Yeah, exactly. So
my Aunt Genevieve told us stories about skinwalkers down here. She went back and she was so upset about it that she was telling, she called my mother and told her, she said, it was raining in Arizona. She was getting ready to go to bed. She heard scratching at the door, and she opened up a door, and there's this wet dog. There's this wet dog by the door, and she's an animal lover, so she brought the dog in and was kind of drying it off, trying to get it warm. And she went to bed, and she was woken that the dog, like she woke up and the dog was sitting by her bed, and she kind of patted on it, and she said just the smell from the dog, she said it wasn't normal. And
like death or something?
Yeah, she had a feeling like her dad always told, my grandpa always told her, you don't invite stray dogs in the house in Arizona because they're skinwalkers. And sure enough, she just had that overwhelming that she grabbed the dog by the collar, like by his back of his neck, and was like dragging him to the house and put him outside. And the dog just kind of sat there by the door just watching her. And she swears up and down, by the time she went back to her room, locked the doors and opened up her window to look, like her drapes, the dog started walking in the rain, going to the street, and by the time I got to the street light, I'm getting real bad chills because my grandpa, he does not play with this stuff. And he said what she related to him is that the dog kind of kneeled down kind of like that and then stood up like a person, and he just walked down the sidewalk.
Wow. Yeah. When I rode out to Sturgis this past summer, and I rode out from here and went to Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and then into South Dakota, and was out there for a couple of weeks, had a good time, and then I came back through Colorado. So I came through Wyoming into Colorado, and I stayed in Colorado for several weeks and got to go through all of like Glenwood Springs and into the Rockies. Had a good time, and I have the habit, and I just do this because anytime I go to an old building, an old bar, and it's in an old historic building, I always ask the bartenders or the servers, I'm like, tell me the ghost stories. Yeah. And they have them. Yeah. And they're nobody's ever gone like, oh, you're crazy or anything. No, they're like, okay, hold on, And so like I'm at this cafe, in this real classic bar, and it is Doc Holliday's town. So Doc Holliday was he died in Glenwood Springs. Mm-hmm. I want to say it's Glenwood Springs. And so that's where he's buried and what have you. And this town is like, you're walking straight into the Old West, right? And they have all these bars, and it's in cafes. It's really cool. And so I'm in this old building, and I'm eating a sandwich at the bar, having a beer, and I'm talking to the bartender. And this real pretty girl comes sitting, and she sits on the other end of the bar, right? Real pretty. And I was just like, wait, during spot. And she starts eavesdropping on my conversation with the bartender about the ghosts, because he's telling us about all the ghosts. And she's like, I need to get next to you. I want to hear more of this. So she comes and sits next to me. So we're talking. And then she starts telling me about a bridge out in, so you've got Castle Rock and something Cold Springs. Or not, maybe it's not Cold Springs. It's something Springs. Anyways, this town, right there off of the main freeway, she was telling me about this bridge that, it's haunted, that and I think we've all heard this story from other towns, but she swears up and down where you could park your car and it'll start to get pushed. Oh yeah. And that some kids had gotten killed in some accident, and so they help push you, over and whatever. But she also started talking about skinwalkers, but she wouldn't call them skinwalkers. And I was about to say, wait, are you talking about? She goes, and I go, she goes, do not say it. And I go, she goes, I don't want it following me. I don't want to call it upon. So that was my first experience of, hearing that can happen. And here I am in this bar in this town that, now I got to walk alone to where I'm staying at night, and I'm thinking, I just called one on me, so, and it's like, you feel like when you're in those old historic places and you're talking about ghost stories, you really feel them. Like, we could tell them in the garage, and it's like, it's
with
creepy.
y'all being just as crazy as me about stuff like that. Y'all do know how skinwalkers.
Yeah, I know about it. I'm more
about what when I was told when I was a kid is they can feed into your fears, and if that's not working, they can obviously they can shape shift. And it's not always a dog. It could be an owl. It could be a lot of things, but they can mimic, and that's what scares me the most. It can mimic the person that you love. It could mimic the person that your wife, your mom. Skinwalkers, like stories of skinwalkers, just because I heard from my grandpa and his sisters and stuff, and seen how shaken up he was, like, because he got the only time I remember ever getting really in trouble by him is when I was making fun of a skinwalker. I think I was telling my sisters, I'm going to get the skinwalker after you. And he grabbed a hold of my shoulder and was like, do not say.
Yeah, they don't mess with that.
He said, do not talk about. And they have a name for it, and I cannot think of it. But they gave me a nickname, Belagana.
What's that?
And that's, I guess, in Navajo, little white boy. Because I was the only one. My sisters, they look, Native American.
Yeah.
My mom looks Native American, and I'm the only one that come out looking like my dad. I was a little white boy on the reservation.
Oh, that's funny.
catching horny toads and stuff.
So you say that they're out there in the Four Corners. You have a reservation out there, and I want you to take me there. I would love to go check it out.
No.
Take pictures. And
their ways. He truly, when we call each other, when I hear from him, it's always it's never hello Corey.
Yeah.
It's never hey man, how are you? It's just hello grandson. And I'm like, hey Che.
Hello grandson.
Yeah, and then he's got that strict. That's his religion. That's his culture. That's who he is. And he lives it day in and day out.
Is that when you say how, Grandpa?
Yeah, I'm like, at first I was like, hello, but I can't get my voice that deep, so I'm like, hey, what's up, Papa?
Yeah, but the funny thing that I like, we got 2 city councilmen in here, right? We got people that voted for us, and I'm sure some townspeople are going to be like, who the hell did we vote for? These crazy wackadoos. But hey, I'm just open to a lot of whatever. I'm not closed-minded.
I'll say I'm a skeptic to most of this stuff.
Yeah.
But if I see something weird,
you're going to acknowledge it.
Yeah, exactly.
And look into it.
And I think there's a lot of mysteries to the universe that we don't quite understand yet.
Well, it's like what I love, like the Indian lore, because
it's Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico.
Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. Right on. Okay, and then we have the 3 corners, which is Texas. Right out there at Texarkana. Have you been to Texarkana yet? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really neat. So Texarkana, Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Right? Yeah. And so out there, they have the folk monster, which was, they definitely went all out on a movie and all that with Boggy Creek.
Boggy Creek.
Boggy Creek. I keep saying Boggy Creek. Boggy Creek Monster.
The Legend of
Boggy Creek. That was
the Legend of
Boggy Creek. That was a movie. I saw that as a kid. I was like, 7 or 8, and that was a movie that I never forgot, and I've even watched it recently.
Oh yeah.
And the acting's poor. The guy that directed it, he was from there, and he pulled all the regular citizens, and they acted out these stories. So there was no actors in there, but it was a great documentary.
Oh yeah.
Slash movie, kind of the first of its kind, a documentary slash movie. We've seen that ever since, and I was out there about a month and a half ago with my friend Melanie. We took a ride out there because I wanted to check out the folk monster scene. And so we went out to the folk monster, I guess it's a market. I thought it was like a museum. They do have a little museum in there. And I took pictures. I'll post it on the video. But it's really cool. I kind of like that.
Oh, yeah.
We have some, so bringing that up is because like if you look at the map, and we just looked at a map earlier. If you look at Wolfe City and the distance to there, and they have all kinds of, Bigfoot stories and lore and all that stuff, and so many people have seen. They've made movies, documentaries, what have you. We're not that far, so I mean, something like that can expand out here,
It could.
And I don't like some people are like, well, but how can one Bigfoot be everywhere? Well, it's not one Bigfoot.
Yeah.
If it would be a population, and they're spread out. I mean, it's just like, well, we've never seen a body.
Yeah,
I don't have all the answers.
You could go down that. Yeah, you could go down that rabbit hole for a long time.
Right, but a lot of people that have seen it, they're very credible.
They're adamant.
Yeah, they're adamant, and their story doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's not a lie. It's like they're literally reliving it every time they tell it.
Yeah, but what was saying out that like and what I've we could spend out here all night of what I think I saw, what I've been through, what you've been through, stuff like that. From rock throwing to slapping on tree limbs, as far as down in Tucker's Bottom. A buddy of mine was throwing. He was going to go relieve himself down there, but I think he was trying to throw window panes down in the creek, and he got so scared that he almost burned up his motor trying to get out of Tucker's Bottom, because when he told me the side of the stories, he was real quiet by himself, and if you ever been to Tucker's Bottom, if y'all haven't,
I'm not sure.
I'll take you a ride, and I'll show you the exact bridge where he almost blew his motor up trying to get out of there.
I'd love to see it.
And
How far
he
is it?
said it's not very far from here. We could get down there in about 5 minutes. And
Let's go now.
yeah, hey, let's do it. I got a 4-wheel drive.
Let's go now. Let's go. Bigfoot hunting.
But what the deal is, when he was whatever he was doing down there, I'm not trying to incriminate anybody, but he heard not a hoot. He heard it sounded like he sounded like an owl. But what he heard, he's like, if somebody was taking a landscaping timber and slamming it up against a tree. He said, but it didn't sound like it was far off. It sounded like it was right on the road.
Oh, wow.
And he said it got him so bad that he abandoned all thought what he was planning on doing out there. And he said his truck could not build up the gears fast enough. He said he was hauling ass. He said just the pure just fear. He said somebody's out there slamming shit against a tree. He said I don't want to be a part of that.
Well, you said he was going to throw window panes in the lake.
That's
Well, I'm glad that happened. City council made me saying that.
Thanks, Bigfoot.
Thank you, Bigfoot.
Yeah. But no, from what I heard, it was when the pane's going to be thrown out, and he decided to ditch that.
Well, so like I'm in the Kiwanis Club, and the only time I've ever gone to the Wet Hill Country Club was for the meetings, the Kiwanis Club meetings. They have them there. They have a great Thursday lunch, by the way, an buffet, and I recommend anybody going there. It's great. But this past meeting Thursday, I met this guy who owns a farm. He owns 100 acres. It's like 6.5 miles from Wolfe City and 6.5 miles from Leonard. He's in a really good location, and he's looking to open up. He's got a store, but his number one obstacle there is he doesn't. He's got to market. He's got to get people there. Yeah. And he uses his property. He's got 100 acres. He uses his property for farming and a whole bunch of things. He's got organic farms, and he and I'll put up a card of his name and all that in the video so you can see it. So he does organic produce, what have you, and he also rents out. Rents out part of his property for camping. Yeah. So people can camp there on the weekend, and he's got this camp area right on the lake there and all that. And so we're talking at the meeting about marketing his business, what he wants to go and take it to the next level. And I'm like, dude, I'll help you. Let's talk business. And he's like, well, if you want to come out Saturday or something, I'm like, what are you doing after this meeting? And he's like, and he's like, well, yeah, come on over. So I followed him up that. What is that height? What is that 8? No. What's that road off of Webb Hill that you make a right off of 34 on?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well,
I can't think of it right off.
Whatever farmland, country road that is. I had never taken that past the country club. And this day, so he lives out. So I followed him on that road, and it's going waving, it's curving and all that. And the landscape is just lush. and it's big old ranches, and it's some places are just like nobody stepped foot on there. You know, trees everywhere, and then all the way, you know, like you're curving, and it finally ends at this one road, and then that's the road we took that to his farmland, and then that road connects eventually to 816, and then you can bring it right back down, right? So he lives like right in between whatever that road is from Webb Hill and 816 is right in the middle, right? But that whole route, and I've never taken that back road. Now it's a staple. I'm taking that back road on a regular basis. It's a beautiful ride, but I'm riding through there and I'm looking and I'm thinking about the Webb Hill Wild, and I'm like, yeah, totally. I could totally see something being just, you know, not really seen and easy to hide, and you know.
What's beautiful about that place is I know what you're talking about now.
It's gorgeous out there.
It's not even just 2 or 3 miles down the road.
Exactly.
You've got Tucker's Bottom.
Oh, is that where
It all connects.
Oh,
it all connects.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to your story again, real quick with the, you know, you thought it was a standing up cow, but how tall would you say you thought it was?
It's pretty damn tall. I'm 7.
You're 7 foot.
No, I ain't 7 foot. I'm 6'1".
So you're not
Sorry.
the Bigfoot.
I'm the Bigfoot. No, I'm 6'1", and it had to been, you know, because me and him talk about it all the time. I'm 6'1".
Your grandpa?
Yeah, and he's me and my grandpa talk about it all the time. So I want to say 7, 8.
Wow. Yeah, and that's usually about the height that they, you know, the eyewitnesses say that they believe it is.
Me and him,
Some
you know,
10 to 12 feet.
Yeah, we'll be at his house and he'll drink a beer, and he said, you know, that will be brought up. It gets brought up quite a bit.
All the time.
Yeah, and he says, hey, it wasn't a bear, and that's all we say. He said, you know, it wasn't a bear, and I said, and the cows don't walk on 2 feet. So I don't know.
Man. I would love to know the answer to this mystery.
Right. But to hear, like, you guys have been doing, how long ago did this happen?
Had been in 07.
So 07 to now. And your story hasn't wavered, and you guys bring it up all the time. Like, it's unforgettable.
Yeah.
Something happened.
It was something.
Yeah.
It had to be something.
Yeah, I mean, it's like talking about a murder case or something crazy. Like, it's like you don't forget the facts. You don't forget.
No, and it's now we don't get scared. I mean, he'll say, "Hey, let's go fishing," and we'll still fish. But I guarantee you,
He's looking around.
Yeah, he looks that direction, and I look that direction, and we just kind of think it's like, I hope to God that we don't see that again.
Well, you guys are definitely carrying, right?
If you see it, you pull out that cell phone.
Oh yeah.
Take a picture.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, it's always been me and him, and you know, always talking about it, and he'll sit there and like, hey, you know, that wasn't a bear. That's all he'll say, and take a drink of beer, and I'm like, yeah, cows don't walk on 2 feet. And I'll drink me a beer, and he's just like, he said, man, they'll never believe it. And I said, it was wild.
Nice.
What kind of fish do we have out here anyway?
At the 2 lakes,
I love catfishing. So do we have catfish out there?
Yes, sir, we do. I've actually got a picture that I will send to you. I used to run jug lines out there, and I caught a 42-pound high fin blue out of that lake.
Wow.
So you have some high fin blues, you have some good sized perch, bass, crappie. Crappie is crazy through there. I mean, you have, nice pan sized, you know, perch. And people say there's a guard, you know, a couple of guards running out there. I don't know. I've never caught one. But yeah, as far as bass, I mean, people don't really fish out there no more. You know, they say, well, there's no fish up there. You get out there, you can't. If you're fishing on a boat, you're in for a good day. You'll catch some good fish.
I'll have to get out there.
Yeah,
I haven't fished out there yet. So.
Yeah, but yeah, we caught a 42-pound high fin blue out of there. The biggest fish, you know, I've ever caught out of there. You know, and they had it posted at the Quick Check for a little bit of the picture we took out of there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, share that picture if you have it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe text it to me.
Yeah,
I'll add
while we're
it
talking,
onto the video.
while we're talking,
Yeah.
I can pull it up pretty quick.
That'd be good.
That'd be good.
I had it saved in a.
You need a drink, Corey?
No, thank you.
I don't know how much longer we're going here.
I think we're,
Here it is.
About to
This
wrap
is
it
on
up.
the first lake.
whoa,
Yeah.
that is awesome. Yeah, if you could text that to me,
Yeah.
because I definitely want to
Uh,
add that to the video.
and I know that doesn't.
Let me see.
Let's see. Right here. This is one of them.
Holy crap.
And can you eat it when it's that big?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I hear
Yeah.
that once it gets
They're not
certain
as
age-
tasty when they're
Yeah, that's
that
what I
big,
hear.
though, at least in my experience.
And I've got a picture of me sitting on top of Webb Hill, holding the fish up.
Text me those both pictures.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. It's not in this, but yeah,
Do they
I'll
have any
send you.
mud cats out here?
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, they sure do.
Those suckers get big too.
Yes, they do.
Now I want to talk one more story.
Okay.
You mentioned lights out at Webb Hill or something like that,
Lights.
and then other people seeing other things at that same
Yes,
night.
my childhood friend that I would consider, that I consider a brother, Seth Roselle. Me, Seth, I think his brother Ethan was driving the truck. We used to shoot rabbits out of the back of a truck.
Now when was this? Let's set a time.
This was, I graduated in 09. This had to been, I want to say, let's say 05
Baby.
to, 05 to 06. Yeah, so let's just say from, it happened between 05 and 06. It's in the newspaper. If we can ever pull up Howard, if Harold Banner
Yeah.
ever holds newspapers, of like at least
They
a copy,
should, yeah.
it's in the newspaper. We were out on top of Webb Hill hunting on some land that we had permission to do, run off pigs and stuff. We decided it was a real cold night. We decided to go rabbit hunting. We ended up catching, we shot, I want to say 19 or 21. But anyway, so yeah, I was sitting there, I was into it, man. I was sitting there, we had a guy shining the spotlight, and I was hell with that single shot shotgun, So I'd see a rabbit and shoot, and we were having a good time, and I could tell my buddy kept looking over to the left. He just quit shooting altogether. He just, he was, it just felt to me like he was concerned about something. I thought he was, I said, oh man, it's getting late. I'm gonna be in trouble, whatever. So I just kind of said, hey man, let's get to hunting, dude. I said, man, we're like right on him. Let's keep going. He said, man, I see something over there, and he was pointing over there where the golf course was, or Webb Hill is, and we're just right across the highway. And he kept pointing over there and he said, I see lights, and I'm not saying I seen any. By the time I was looking, he told me, he said they took off. He said it was like a blur at that point. He said it just, there for a little bit they were there, and he's like, he watched them, and then he could tell, he just like and they were gone. We gave him so
Like
much.
up in the air or down near the ground?
It was, where he told me, he said it was just sitting in the air.
Wow.
It was just kind of just sitting, and he said he remember him telling me about blinking lights. He said there was a bunch of lights, but it was just doing this, and he said it would kind of hover here, there, but it wouldn't move very far. So the whole time, like I'm just like, hey, he's sitting there telling me, I'm telling you, if he could see it, I could see it. I had really good eyes. I didn't see nothing, and I was like, dude, let's go, And we gave him a hard time, like, oh yeah, aliens, whatever. And he was really concerned, he's like, he's wanting to go home. And so we finished up the night. We went home maybe a couple of minutes after that. And we went on with our night, but he said, man, I swear I seen something out there. I guess that following, I want to say, not that following morning, but the morning after that, it was in the newspaper. My grandpa was like, hey, he said, where were y'all hunting the other night? And I said, we were near Webb Hill. He said, they seen UFOs. He said the owner of the place and neighbors of the place, they even had pictures of this UFO hovering over the golf course of Webb Hill.
Oh, wow.
And he said, yeah. And I was like, I told him, I said, Seth swore up and down, and I think I told my grandpa that night, I said, yeah, Seth thinks he's seen a UFO, whatever, and we kind of laughed about it. And he said, hey, Seth really did see a UFO. He said, it's right here in the newspaper.
Wow.
And
That's
Seth
crazy.
gave me shit for weeks about that. I told you I seen that.
Wow.
And it's actually documented in Harold Banner. We were hunting
We're gonna look
rabbits.
for that.
Yeah,
we
we'll
were-
have to
we were-
find that
we have to look
newspaper.
for that.
Yeah, we were hunting rabbits
Yeah.
right across the the highway of
Wow.
when that night happened.
That's
Right
crazy.
on.
Yeah, that was
And the
pretty neat.
people that took pictures of that and they saw that, are they still here in Wolfe City?
Yeah, they have to be. I don't think anybody's ever changed. The owner's still the same owner.
Of Webb Hill
Yeah.
Country Club?
Oh, wow.
I wonder if they'd be
Yeah, we'll
willing
have
to
to
talk.
check into that for
Mm.
sure.
Sure. We
Yeah,
wanna
check
talk
into
about
that for sure. Yeah.
Well, right on.
Yeah, and I used to haul hay for Hal Job on Butch's place. If he's willing to, if he was one of them that knows anything about that, he might be willing to talk. I mean, it's just easy just to walk up there and just knock on the door, whether he'd talk about it or he won't, you know. But I don't. If he's seen something like that, I'm pretty sure he'd be
Yeah.
willing to say. You know.
Right on. Well, sometime we definitely all got to go together to that bridge, you know.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that'll be a
yeah.
good
I
time.
mean, we could go now, but
Yeah, I was
we
about to
might
say.
see something and not come back.
Yeah. No, you know, it just depends on. It rained the other day. I got a 4-wheel drive. You know, we'll get it dirty, but yeah, because it goes from rock and then you hit that bridge
No.
and then it goes straight to mud. But even if we give it a couple of days and then bring your cameras and stuff, record it down there.
Yeah.
Down at Tucker's Bottom. That's Drome Tucker's not here with us anymore. You know, rest in peace. He's a good friend of mine. He owns a lot of that property down there, and that's why we call it Tucker's Bottom.
Yeah.
But he's seen. Man, I wished he was here because he would tell you some creepy stuff that's happened down there.
Oh, wow.
When he went deer hunting, everybody else that had access to hunt on his land, they would just walk through there in the middle. Early in the morning, sun wouldn't come up. They just trip over shit and get to their blind. He always, from what he's seen, he never got out of his truck until the sun was up, and then he would walk to his deer blind.
Huh.
And he,
Wow.
so it was.
So there was something out there that he had bad feelings about.
And that's not very far from Webb Hill.
Wow.
I mean, you could walk in it, and you could walk from there to Webb Hill and get there in a pretty good amount of time.
Yep. There's something there.
Yeah.
There's got to be. We'll have to investigate.
I just.
Oh yeah.
I kind of think it's cool. I mean, I personally like.
I think it is.
You know,
too.
people are like, yeah, but that's crazy. And I'm like, well, what's crazy? Living in a world that nothing spectacular or phenomenal happens, or living in a world where crazy stuff like this is at least out there. Instead of just what we see in the news and the baloney, isn't it
Well,
kinda
don't just
neat?
blow it off. At
Yeah.
least listen
Yeah.
and try and find a rational explanation. Don't just say, well, that couldn't happen.
Yeah, that, and also
Yeah.
I just think it's fascinating. I think I'd rather live in that kind of a world than a world that nothing like that is around.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, what is. I like knowing that, hey, there's something that maybe we just don't know about yet.
Yeah.
And there's still something to explore.
Yeah, for sure.
The oceans, they don't even know what 10% of what's
Oh
in
yeah.
the oceans.
Yeah.
Haven't even explored it. So there's a whole world there that
Mm-hmm.
we don't know about.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, well, I think we had a good show.
I think we did
Close
too.
it out.
We can
Yeah.
close it out. I mean, unless
All
we
right.
want to keep going.
No.
So, thank you to everyone for watching the first episode of the Wolfe City Mirror podcast. There's going to be more to come.
Definitely.
And I think this is a good first episode. We hope y'all keep tuning in. This is for y'all. This is for information about the community, for the community. So keep tuning in.
All right, and thank you, Corey McElwrath.
Oh, thank
for,
you.
Yeah.
Let
being
me get
here.
on here.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Or are we supposed to hold them together?
We can hold 'em.
The outtakes will be so much better than the actual episode.
Yeah, we'll save you the takes.
Okay.
Well, it's not like we're not going to be laughing while we're live either. And action.